You know,
Yeah.
it was supposed to be with the Tokiyama toy show. That was like the debut of it.
Yeah, because I love that. That's gonna be my favorite one. I mean, I got the one that you gave me, the Hulk one, the giant one.
Yeah.
And then I bought the Basquiat one, and then I got I want to say I got the golden Thanos one.
Okay.
And he's got so I got a couple of them. I don't really collect a lot of them, but like the ones that stand out, I was like, yeah, that's pretty hard to take.
I mean, there's certain ones.
That's my new problem because I have all of mine at work right now, and I found out yesterday/today that I'm relocating, and I won't have like my own office anymore, which is not the biggest thing in the world. So I'll have nowhere to put them.
Start building some shelves.
I know, that's what I'm literally looking around now, like how I'm gonna pull this off. But
you could probably do that in the front room, no? Like right alongside the wall.
I was thinking, I wasn't gonna do the front room, probably more like in the dining room area or something like that. But
you better get that cleared.
hey, I don't need to clear that.
Right. Get your permits down.
I am the interior decorator in this house.
Yeah. We'll recircle this episode. We'll recircle this timestamp when it becomes the Wise Men Wrestling Podcast featuring Gerard and Ray.
And Sonia.
Sonia's
I don't know nothing about wrestling.
Decorator.
MJF is a fuckface. Yeah.
Well, if you haven't noticed, we're already recording in episode 91 of the Wise Men Wrestling Podcast with your boy Rod in the left corner, me with my long hair don't care attitude, and Sean eating Ruffles.
Man, I go to Aldi. We don't get no Ruffles.
It's still Ruffles. You could call it Ruffles. It don't matter.
Right.
How's everybody doing?
Happy it's Friday.
No, today was better. Had a couple lows this week, but well, I made progress today. So,
can we talk about this silly ass Travis Scott fucking quarter pounder meal, which is just a quarter pounder meal?
No, we can't. We can't talk about that.
We could talk about it in the terms of
there's literally people trying to boycott McDonald's because of it. No,
this man secured a bag for just putting his name on a quarter pounder box.
I'm dealing with my own mini cancel culture moment right now. I don't care about Travis Scott. And them adding bacon to a quarter pounder and everybody going absolutely ape shit.
So yo, you could have done that for 50 cents. It's lit.
Everybody just found out that McDonald's don't care about your dollar. They going for that demo.
They should call them
the demo.
They should call themselves the demo god because it's like one of my cousins just texted me because I posted a video of a TikTok video that I found, which was fucking hilarious because this guy's like, man, this is just a quarter pounder meal, bro. He's like, I expect when I lift up the box, I get some sound effects. Like, yeah, it's lit.
I actually feel sorry for Travis Scott on this one, man, because
don't because they put his face. Because he's collecting the bag. He learned.
If they put anybody on there, they'd be like, everybody like, okay, Travis Scott, they have problems with for some reason. Come on. There are far worse people they could have put on that.
Yo, just understand, he's been on a box of cocoa with Reese Puffs. He's got some Jordans that are going out for like probably $2,400 right now.
He had a Fortnite.
He learned a game.
That's all you need to know.
He learned the game from his BM.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
I don't know.
I don't get the uproar about it. Like,
I missed the second half of the story. I guess I don't know what the hate is about.
Because of Travis Scott's music, people who have families, not that we don't have families, but are concerned about McDonald's aligning themselves with someone who makes basically rap music. That is the beef.
So welcome to the Wise Men Wrestling Podcast.
Right, that's what I'm saying. We don't need to talk about this. Like, it's whack. Let's move on.
I mean, no, but honestly, congratulations to Travis Scott because this is still
that's a huge bag.
This is still
Right.
uncharted territory for hip hop in general. Like rappers are getting endorsement deals, like, and it's from.
Yeah, seriously. What other rapper was ever talking about McDonald's?
We've only ever had to like make things for ourselves. They thought we had it with Ludacris. They took it from him because of his concerns. So, shouts to him.
Right. That's like.
Because that's just.
Yeah.
How y'all coming at Travis Scott because McDonald's gave him a bag? Come on.
They gave him a quarter pounder.
You just mad because your kids still bought the sandwich.
There is a couple of TikTok videos there. It's like somebody went up. You already know why I'm here.
Right.
All right. It's like, all right. You want anything else?
Right. That's what I'm saying.
It's like,
the fact that people are going to get the burger as if it's really different is amazing.
Nothing
like,
different.
yo, let me get that Travis Scott.
You remember Callahan? Callahan used to, what his fucking deal was, he used to go to on a Thursday or a Friday with us. He used to go to McDonald's and tell him, I want a Big Mac, but instead of the Big Mac patties, you're going to give me the quarter pounder patties and you're going to throw bacon on it. It's like, all right. He's like, I'm willing to pay the extra money. I'm like, it's $1.50. I mean, it's like, you could probably get this meat on the side of the road, if anything.
All right. Good for Callahan.
It's actually pretty smart, pretty fat.
Look, now he's writing it down. Like, how do you do that?
Well, somebody already put me on to the they put spicy chicken on the breakfast menu now, right?
Yeah.
So spicy chicken, egg McMuffin.
I can't really fuck.
I don't
with
get
their
that complicated
anymore.
that early in the morning, bro. I can't.
Hey, low key, Wendy's breakfast is really good.
I have not done that yet.
I was there.
Man?
They got like home fries.
Yeah, they got.
JB. JB, give me some of that graham cracker, man.
I ain't trying to listen.
That's okay.
Putting some stuff together.
Yeah, this is like the real mission control over here now. So
I see. Got it all realigned.
Yeah.
All of our houses need to be put on wheels so when we move stuff around. Especially Ray. Ray has like a different setup, like it's fucking Minecraft over there every other week.
It's feng shui, baby. You gotta be right in your space, or else the creativity doesn't come out.
It's like Harry Potter. The shit shifts per day or something like.
I wish it would shift that fucking easy. I got bamboozled. I ordered this fucking gaming desk. It was like one of those the LED ones, and I was like really happy because it had a cup holder. Dude, it was a $200 desk that I got online for like $30. So I was like, yo, this is great. Waited through like 2 months to only get these little fucking tablets, like these little tabs that you put on the bottom of your MacBook, because the MacBook Pros tend to start heating up and you hear it like a loud spin, kind of like the PlayStation. It sounds like a jet engine. So I email them back. I'm like, I think you got the wrong package because this is not what I ordered. I ordered a fucking computer desk and you gave me two. Oh no, our distribution center mixed it up and sent you the wrong package. You could send it back, but I'm sending it back to China, so I gotta pay double in what I did in shipping. I'm like,
oh man.
They gave me a little bit of a refund, and I was like, I'll just keep this shit.
So you'll learn like everybody else is learning, like don't buy any gaming anything.
Nope.
I bought like 2 gaming chairs. They weren't fun.
How many have I gone through in this pandemic?
See, well, this is what I was just gonna say, like, and I don't know if Rod,
I was gonna say
Rod can relate, but I'm curious about how your purchasing habits are going to be once you hit 40. Like literally the day I hit 40, like every purchase was thought of differently.
I usually second guess myself out of I talk myself out of the purchases.
Wait,
and
you talk yourself out of purchases?
Yeah, I've been doing that since I was like 20. I've been doing that since I was like 24.
Right.
So I was like, I have to sit there and like constantly look for validation from my wife to do it. And then
I haven't gotten to that point yet. I usually
it's like I asked her,
over research the dumbest things.
Yeah, her answer is always the same. oh, well, if you want it, baby, you can get it. I'm like, oh, well, I didn't want that fucking answer. Be my voice of reason. Be,
The way you said it, I'm like, hey.
it's like,
yo,
that's
a problem.
Well, I'm not going to her because the last time I did it, I bought the Bel Air Jordans and I overpaid about like $100, only to find on the same website, the SneakerCon app, like maybe 45 minutes later, they were about $100 cheaper. I'm like, oh fuck, there's no price match in this game. But they're really cool. So
I literally shop like everyone's dad. It's really bad. like a cell phone case. I like look at reviews and shit. Like,
I just go to Five Below for my shit.
Nah. I'm never going to Five Below for anything I need serious.
I got a pub table that's been in my shopping cart for like
Five Below. It's good for candy and last minute presents. That's it.
I choose.
You like those?
What?
Yeah.
What is it?
I choose.
Oh yeah. Hell yeah.
But when I worked Cubs, they used to give us like a bucket of that in the command center, and I tried one. I was like, I'd rather have those little, like those strawberry hard candies that your aunts, grandmothers used to have. I would have totally maxed those out rather than give me those high chews. I used to give those damn things away. Oh, those are the worst.
No, our house always has high chews somewhere in there in the house. Like I swear to God, like I'm not gonna do it because I'm on camera, but I could go in Sonia's purse right now. There, I guarantee you, there's at least 5 high chews at the bottom.
I thought you were the interior decorator.
Hey, no one interior decorates her purse, yo. Just saying.
That's true.
Just saying. I'm already got high blood pressure, man. I'm gonna be an early death regardless. Don't need to be by the wife.
We're gonna be out by 40, 45, or at least me.
So wrestling happened.
We are a wrestling podcast.
Right.
There's been some fun stuff that's happened, and then there's been some
Rod, where do we start?
I'm gonna start by promoting my Twitch. Twitch.tv/Kingpin J Rilla.
Yo, why don't you put it at the bottom, man? Put it your name.
I always forget to do it. I'm gonna do it now. Like hashtag keep me home. Let me do
keep
it while it's still legal. Because I guess being independent doesn't really mean anything anymore.
Hey man, we got Andrew Yang on our side. We good.
Yo,
he is going all in.
If Andrew Yang had came out with this as one of his platforms during this Democratic nomination, he would have had wrestling fans. Yeah, he still lose. But I would have probably said. I mean, he was with the universal income too, right? The $2,000 a month.
Yeah.
So he wants to give us $2,000 a month and hook up independent contractors.
Hey man, he brought up the U word, man.
It's crazy.
In an interview he had, can't remember who. He actually presented like the actors format for unionization. You know how their union exists outside of all the companies. So they could be independent contractors and still be unionized.
Mm-hmm.
Just like actors are.
With a SAG card.
Right. Would it be WAG? Would that be it? Oh, no. We don't want WAG cards.
No, it's SAG. Screen
No, I'm saying those wrestlers.
Oh, WAG. Oh, yeah, you don't want that.
We don't want that.
Gotta get a better name. NWO.
That'd be funny.
That would be funny.
Hey, but it was sampled on the opening track for Conway the Machine's album that dropped today. Kevin Nash speaking at the end of it. That was pretty dope.
So for those who may have lived under a wrestling rock, WWE early this week or late last week, over the weekend, told their stars they gotta close up Twitch, close up YouTube, and hand over their Cameo accounts because all this third-party stuff is not gonna happen anymore. Yeah, I mean they've backtracked a bit since then. They say you can use your you can do it as long as you don't use your wrestling names. You know, getting all to this intellectual property stuff. But, you know, there's still some lingering effects that need to be, in my opinion, resolved before anyone's happy with the situation.
So looking back at the situation, like, Xavier is actually really smart, because he was the first person that I was concerned about. But that's like, wait a minute, he's Austin Creed there, and the first thing he does when anybody new shows up, you have to make a nickname.
Yep.
He never really like explained that, but now it just like makes sense. If he has a true partnership with the WWE, which he does because they sell up, down merch through the WWE shop. Okay, Xavier, got you.
Yeah,
actually,
smart.
And we know Xavier's mind isn't on WWE for the long haul anyway. He's trying to be the EVP of G4.
Right, and I hope he's smart enough. I did put out a tweet, a video message to him saying that, hey, do the thing that the guy who's actually going to get the job do, and get an agent. You know what I'm saying? Have him knock that door down for you. You know what I'm saying? Just do it the right way. I mean, I know it's cool that you want to rally up a lot of support on Twitter and on socials, and you'll get it. But, like, you know, let's just do the thing that you know is going to get you the job, because you deserve to be there.
Right.
So
some people have already made the change, like Paige, you know, changed all her stuff to Ciara Knight. It's funny to hear some of the theories and a couple places where people are saying this edict came from. One was AJ Styles being on his Twitch talking about, you know, hey, I got COVID, ain't no big deal. And the WWE has long said, or long told people they don't want anybody talking about that. The second thing is Lana. Apparently, they do not approve of Lana's deal with Fashion Nova and
the energy drink that she was
Bane. Yeah, it's like the social media, the social media's drink. Like everybody on there.
Yeah, you're not having it. I don't get it, man. It's
what it is basically it was discussed on a couple of podcasts and busted open throughout the week. It's about control. This is what it comes down to. We've talked about on this podcast, and other people have talked about, WWE is not allowing another John Cena, another Rock, another Steve Austin to happen. They want full control of your star, full control of the money that comes in and out of your pockets. Anything that has to do with your career with WWE, they want part of it, and they want a cut of it. Because they're not going to have anybody grow big enough to outgrow them to the point where they can tell them no anymore. That's not going to happen. John Cena was the last he was the last dude. Ain't nobody getting that much shine, getting that much clout, getting that much paper no more.
AJ Styles had a recent quote too, talking about his name, because they were talking about how WWE actually owns their real names too for some wrestlers, and he said no, that he owns AJ Styles. That's why he was able to wrestle with New Japan, with Impact, across all these boards, and when he retires, he gets to take his name with him. So it's like it's his own property.
That was part of his deal. That and like his merchandise split was like pretty high.
Right.
When he negotiated with him. So, I mean, here's what makes sense. WWE creates a character, right? Changes your name, gives you a WWE name, essentially. Makes sense for them to trademark it. It makes sense that that's their intellectual property. It makes sense that you can't turn around and, you know, start a foot fetish OnlyFans under your WWE name. That
That's
makes
your
sense
thing.
because that goes on their merchandise, that goes on other properties that they license out. So from a business standpoint, that's good. The real name thing, which Vince McMahon said on the call, he owns real names too, and then they redacted that later on.
Right.
We do know in some cases that's true. We do know that Cody is still Cody and not Cody Rhodes. We do know that
They did the same thing with Billy Gunn.
Well, Cody Rhodes is not his real name. Remember that. Cody Reynolds is his name.
Right. Well, like
they were talking about like Billy Gunn, like you said. I'm sorry to keep interrupting you. Billy Gunn, he can't be Billy Gunn.
Gunn's not his last name either.
I know, but they own that, so he can't.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, but like real names, we need to clear that up. Like, I mean, unless it's in your contract specifically that you can't use that name, they can't touch your real name.
Right. And then we also know from experience that, with WWE, they like to kind of partner with these companies before they start filtering their intellectual properties through it. The bad part about that is usually when the WWE partners with something new, because they're so old and old-minded,
right?
They end up killing a lot of things. I don't know if you remember this thing called tout.
Ooh, man, I was just listening. They were just talking about that on Wrestle Talk today. That's awful. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, tout for what it was worth was TikTok before it was TikTok.
Yep.
WWE killed it because they wanted to be in control of it without really understanding how it worked. But WWE wants to be the one to partner with Twitch. They want to be partners with Cameo so that they can filter, their intellectual properties through it and make their cut that they're supposed to make off of the properties that they own.
Right.
So there is like fair legal precedence there.
Mm-hmm.
Once again, it just takes the wrestlers themselves to be more educated about intellectual properties, their business status, contracts they sign, and so what they do and don't have the right to do. And it's not like I know from one perspective you can look at it, well, yeah, they were just trying to do something to make us all the lost money that they lost for not doing house shows and not doing live shows because of COVID. But on the other hand, you look at like Cameo, for example, before Alexa Bliss was doing $500 videos, before Lana was on there, like Big E was like the top WWE earner on there. He had to clear almost $250,000 in just small engagements, and like he was like one of the top 10 all time and definitely the top WWE earner. So like there was a lot of money made.
Yeah.
And there's no situation that's going to, I mean, we're looking at like, what Instagram is doing, what Facebook is doing right now. Like they're not going to just continue to let quote unquote influencers come on their and just make all this money without them.
Yep.
It's King of New York type shit. Like,
yeah.
If a nickel bag gets sold in the park, I want a piece of it.
Another thing that, WWE is, in a sense, understandably concerned about is anything that their stars or whatever performers do as it relates to countering or thing to upset their sponsors. So, for example, the Bane thing with Lana. I don't know if they exactly have a deal with anybody else, but that could be a conflict. Say if they had a sponsor deal with Red Bull or some shit, or had one pending or whatever the case may be. So that's where that line has to be drawn, and I understand that to a certain extent.
Mm-hmm.
Where say like sports have done all the time, where
like
a certain company, UFC, basketball, it happens all the time. When it comes to, now that I think the jerseys are all sponsored by Nike, You know, they were was it Jordan brand?
Mm-hmm.
Jordan's Nike. I don't care anymore. You know, there was conflicts initially. You know, back when Michael Jordan was playing. Remember, he caught like nightly fines because they had a deal with somebody else, and he was wearing, you know, his brand of shoes. You know, that's a similar.
He's to cover up the logo right here. I would think it was the Reebok logo at the time.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah,
He put the American flag over the Reebok because he was a Nike guy.
Yeah, so I mean, that's a similar concept, and I get that portion of it.
Well, look at the UFC. They bet all of their wrestlers, all their fighters have to wear Reebok.
Right.
And
that was part of Brock's beef, right?
Yeah. Well, it's everybody's beef that they can't wear their own gear. They can't wear any more logos, sponsors, and shit like that. So they lose a shitload of money that they would normally recoup. Those sponsorships would be enough to pay for all the training that they paid out of pocket for.
Correct. And this is also something that Punk has brought up with the WWE before in the past, because the whole sponsorship on the Trunks thing was not a Brock thing. That was a CM Punk thing. Punk wanted to do that. Brock was just the one who had enough clout to actually pull it off. So he did it with Jimmy John's. Hey, money. I'm sure that's he's got a section of his house that has Jimmy John's money on it. So
and you got it freaky fast too, huh? Sorry, I couldn't resist.
Stop
trying to make fetch happen, right? Anyway.
Trader Joe's. You remember those handy snacks? Remember with the little breadsticks and the cheese?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, they got PB&J now.
Oh.
Peanut butter filled.
So yeah.
They see you. It's already over. They see you. All the tacos.
Seriously.
Same thing you got me last time.
The taco, that thing?
Yeah. We getting tacos.
Are we getting tacos, or is just
you come over and get tacos?
Or the House of Barton?
Me taco, you suka taco. I don't know.
No, I just showed you my handy snacks, and you want to talk about damn tacos? Stop.
Hey, we don't cook on Fridays. That's a rule. You don't break the Friday rule.
I don't break anybody's rules except my own about buying Jordans.
But I don't know. This just, and it spun back, to Andrew Yang, because it goes back to this whole independent contractor scene, and that's where people are really, kicking dust up, because it's like, if they were employees, everybody would understand. But these guys are independent contractors, so he's like, how in the hell are you going to tell them what to do when they're not in the ring? Obviously, WWE has figured out a way to do that, and they're working on that for a while.
I'll have to clear that up real soon, because it's happening again. It's getting national attention.
And what's crazy is that this podcast just had the conversation about it, and all of a sudden, it's like,
oh, I'm convinced they're listening, man. There's about at least 4 or 5 different things that have happened immediately after we record.
Immediately after we recorded, the timing is not right. Our FBI agents are the top agents in the country. Let's just be real. Salute to you guys.
I blame Alexa. I blame Alexa. It's Alexa, man.
I thought you were talking about Alexa Bliss.
You're all welcome. Just let me get the bag. You know what I mean?
Right.
Keep me home.
Keep me home.
I got another one for you.
Uh-oh.
Go ahead, talk. It's coming. Like,
all right.
What's great about is the fact that you brought up the CM Punk, and Rod's rocking the CM. Is that the pipe
That's
bomb?
actually what reminded me of it. That's serious.
This is the pipe bomb shirt.
Because he just brought it up again like a week ago. It's like, guys, what are you doing? There's so much other money to be made.
Oh yeah.
Outside of wrestling, don't let them handcuff you. Get your bag. And that's what, Vince doesn't want, because that's what Cena did. That's what The Rock did. And that's what made them so big, where they could look at Vince like, dog, I don't need you anymore. I'm not the Undertaker, man.
Just imagine the WWE's ego if they had The Rock under a 360 deal.
Ooh.
Vince McMahon would just be the king of the United States of America. That's it. Like, there would be no more elections.
Right.
It's a cold business, man.
It's a cold business.
I couldn't wrestle. I not just because I'm broken, but just I'm too loud. I probably wouldn't even be on Hulu's main event.
Stuff Ali, man.
Oh, the
Cash App.
he's about to come in with a Jay-Z, fuck you, pay me.
Cash App, man.
Hey, unlike my counterpart here with the Cash App, I accept all forms of payment. Venmo, Zelle, Cash App, you can Apple Pay me, whatever you want.
Yo, that's what I gotta do today. You just reminded me. There's a cat I saw on TikTok I've been in contact with. He makes custom avatars. Yeah.
Nice.
Oh.
I did purchase a Bullet Club, the Black Lives Matter joint that Jay White made.
Nice.
I'm going to pick that up tomorrow. Maybe it's a long sleeve because I knew it was going to get cold. But I mean, it's a dope. If anybody hasn't seen it, go to Pro Wrestling Tees. It's 100% of the proceeds go to Black Lives Matter. So
mine arrives Monday, according to the tracking.
I just did it so I could pick it up. Even when I did the mask, I'd rather just go pick shit up. I don't trust shit in mail anymore.
I don't come to the city.
Put the shit in my hand. Just put it in my hand. Sanitize, please.
Sanitize. Did you wipe that down with hand sanitizer before you handed it to me?
No, I got the fabric sanitizer. It's a huge thing. You just spray your shit, especially when you're being out in the field like I've been.
Yeah.
Sanitizer, leave in the front room.
Well, speaking of well-being, let's jump right into this. Well-being, wellness of performers has been a topic for quite some time. But we had another reason to talk about it over the weekend with the spot Matt Hardy and Sammy Guevara had at All Out, where a table spot was missed and the back of Matt's head hit the concrete. There is, I will call it, active discussion over the last week regarding the fact that the match, while had a small pause, actually continued after this particular fall, in which it was clear that he hit his head. And what should have happened and how much care of performers is actually taking place in wrestling, if at all.
So let's just acknowledge like the news portion of it first. Matt Hardy banged the hell out of his head. Several people that were on the scene decided that the match could continue. He continued. They went straight to the finish. Went to another peculiar spot where he actually like climbed some scaffolding and dropped Sammy Guevara off onto a much safer drop, which also raised questions for me as well. Reby, his wife was not happy about it and was not happy about people kind of making light of the situation. He did go get testing. Apparently, he went to go get testing, and several people said that he was okay. He came out on Wednesday, said that he was okay, and kind of cut this babyface promo about what he planned on doing next. You got the president of the company saying that he's fine. His doctor says it's fine. You got his wife that's still telling him, like, are you guys crazy? You know what I'm saying? Like, this really
they performed the world's quickest concussion test.
Yeah, right.
It's like NFL players who get hit with much more impact are out legit for almost an entire quarter which I mean, on our end, lasts about 30, 45 minutes.
The
Try to get clear.
Yeah, the official rule for the NFL is you have to be out for at least a series to get tested, and it's in an independent tent and all that kind of stuff. NFL they did talk about this actually on ESPN, and they were talking about the average test for NFL protocol is 10 to 15 minutes. Matt Hardy's was about 3 to 5
ish. That's being generous.
Right.
That's being generous. And that whole spot was just, as soon as you saw him struggling.
I'm not going to blame the spot. We've seen worse spots, far worse spots.
But you can see that they were struggling to get the footing off of the scaffolding too.
Oh, I get that.
It's like, so it's just like, you know, with somebody that's taken all those shots that he has, it's like, I get it. It's a pay-per-view. You want that wow moment, but there's other ways to get it. And that's the second. And your finish for the match was the exact same outcome to Samuel Guevara during the Stadium Stampede match. So it's just.
Mm-hmm. I'm looking at it. It's a spot that could have been done earlier in the match as well.
Yep.
If they insisted on continue to drop people from high heights, then you protect every spot the same way.
Correct. Yeah,
like you look at the situation, it's like, oh, they put 2 tables. Why not 5? Why not 10?
Yep.
Why not 20? You know what I'm saying? We're gonna do it. Like, why not just be safe? I mean, I've been having an opinion about AEW recently, in terms of everybody, in a sense, every program in a sense is incorporating a certain level of comedy, and there's a certain level of seriousness that's not being implemented in AEW right now, and I think it's kind of cheesy. They wanted to go all the way serious with this one, and they didn't prepare for it at all. There's a few things on that show that they tried to do serious that just didn't come off right to me. And I feel like it's part of the reasons because they've been doing this cheesy stuff like all this time. It's kind of like, you know, if you've been doing it all this time, then cheese this up too. Put the crash pad up under there. I'd rather people be clowning you guys for putting the crash pad up under, you know, saying 5 tables with a tablecloth than trying to go out your way to make something look real and serious.
Right.
And completely messing it up, you know?
Yeah. With no disrespect to the indies, this is supposed to be a big budget production. So let's see that you're taking you're talking all this stuff about, you know, our wrestlers are going to have health care. They're going to have this, they're going to have that. Kind of back that up with, you know, protecting your assets.
We know for sure they have dental care. That we know for sure.
Don't even get me started on that shit. Let's not. But I mean, I don't know. It's tough. It continues, but it's like you're gonna have a lot of these moments happen because you can coordinate, you can go through all the motions, you can practice these moves, but sometimes look at what happened with Seidel, which was probably the best moment of All Out. As it happens, but at the same time.
All right.
Only because I know he's okay, and he's like actually on Twitter joking about it now. Man, that was a great laugh. Oh, that was.
All right, what was better, him or Titus O'Neil?
Oh, him.
Seidel.
This is great.
Seidel for sure.
Absolutely, because this was his debut.
Right.
I still think Titus was better. But going back to this Hardy.
He came out. He called his Hardy. He was like,
yeah.
He jumped up there and just plop.
He took this slide. It's like his name, literally.
Off the top rope move in a battle royal don't make sense to me anyway.
No. Matt Seidel is the least of my worries about that whole spot. The fact that he was even there was probably more of a big problem for me. But in regards to this Matt Hardy thing, just for me, I'm not gonna for myself be a hypocrite and act like the only reason I'm talking about this is because they missed. Had they hit the spot, I wouldn't be talking about this. We've known for a while that, and for better or for worse, AEW stars have a lot more hands-on to what they do than other places. So, it doesn't excuse the spot. It doesn't excuse what they've done. For me personally, I'm not going to sit here and act like I'm completely appalled, because Cody was hit with a chair. Just 3 weeks ago, they busted Matt open with a chair.
That wasn't even the worst part about that whole thing, because look at what Darby Allin did. He was put in a fucking body bag with thumbtacks and then power bombed.
Well, that's not the first time that's even happened, even in AEW. That happened in the match between him and Moxley too. But and then we can get into the Moxley Omega match for days regarding about how far that went. Again, it brings up the bigger question about how much we should care and what we should ask for as it relates to this. I feel it's a double-edged sword. It's kind of like it's not boxing. I get it. It's choreographed and all that good shit. But like boxing and MMA, two guys are beating the shit out of each other, and then we get concerned when somebody's rushed to the hospital. I know it's a different world, but 20 years ago when Mick Foley had the Hell in a Cell match with The Undertaker, the most casual fans still look at that fondly. They don't look at that as, oh my God, that was unsafe. So
right.
Where do we draw that line?
That's a good point. And it's not just injury spots. I look at it from a broader perspective. Like, if we can take any section at a time, but let's go back to Naomi Deserves Better. From Naomi Deserves Better, Keith Lee's call up, losing his music, changing his outfit. You know what I'm saying?
Whoa, wait. But let me just stop you with the Keith Lee thing, though. Keith Lee's music got changed because of money.
No, we understand that, but it's still a matter of how much should we care. Because the flip side of that is that Keith Lee defended all of that. You know what I mean? With Naomi, like, you know what I'm saying, there were people that kind of came out like Booker T and what's the other guy? Mark Henry, and they were talking about, saying different things about how she should know her place and this, that, and the third, and so what she should be doing, and she kind of like took it on the chin, Big E's push, and what do you think are people his response is going to be to that support? We're looking at Matt Hardy's multiple headshots, Cody's headshots, the Twitch cameo thing we just got through discussing, with the WWE, like the reason why we get called marks is because we care more about certain things than the people who are actually involved care about. So it kind of goes back to your point that you've made a few times on this podcast about, are you going to care about the wrestler, or are you going to care just watch and enjoy the product for what it's worth? Because, so nowadays we're real quick to get on Twitter and to kind of voice of our opinions. And sometimes it's valid. And sometimes it does elicit change. And sometimes we do get them to pay attention to things that they probably weren't paying attention to before. So albeit, the promoter, the wrestler, the company, so there is a little give and take there. But where is that line? How much should we actually care? I can go all the way back to when Xavier Woods did this article when he was in Singapore. He was talking to a reporter about wrestling fans, and he kind of made that comment about how wrestling fans need to kind of relax and just take it for what it's worth and stop complaining so much because they don't know how much work we put into. And it's this whole, like, it seemed like to be this whole disconnect. Is he really defending that company, or is he really delusional into thinking that we're upset with the performers themselves versus the company that we know is making them do things, you know? And then there's always going to be some story of, well, you don't know this or you don't know who was behind that. Like, going back to the Keith Lee situation, everybody had a problem with his gear. I personally have a problem with his gear. And even though he spoke out and said, well, you know, said this was my idea, this is my conception, this is how I wanted it to be presented on TV, getting past the dress thing because he's not wearing the bottoms anymore.
Mm-hmm.
He's still wearing a shirt, and I'm wondering if the WWE thinks he's too fat for TV. And, you know, is he just kind of sticking up for this because he's new, he doesn't want to ruffle any feathers? Or this is really his conception or his idea of himself, you know?
Yeah. That makes sense. I definitely think one of the things we care too much about is creative.
Yeah.
Anything to do with creative, I think we care too much about. Because we watch shows all the time. You know, and we don't get as worked up about what happens on those TV shows than we do wrestling. You know, like everybody has their opinion about the end of Game of Thrones, right?
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, that level of, you know, no one's hollering at like Kit Harington, like, dude, you deserved better. You know?
Right.
You know, when it comes in, and it's hard because of how much we get invested in the success of each performer and how we feel where each performer should be, you know, on the card. But the fact of the point is, this is essentially an action-packed sitcom that we watch every week.
True.
They have writers, they have a story. These people are characters that we see on the TV. And these are essentially actors, more physical, of course, portraying these characters. Or the fact, you know, like how everybody gets worked up about Sasha Banks never defending her title. That literally could just be a character trait written into her character. I'm not saying it's right. I'm not saying I enjoy that. But as a creative decision, that literally could be that decision. I'm not sure if either or both of you seen the short that Max Landis put out, Wrestling Isn't Real, literally depicting Triple H's character as a character.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? About how he just couldn't see anybody else become more successful than him. And that's why he always comes around to shit on people when they get successful. It's a character trait of Triple H's character. It may not be who Paul Levesque is as a person, but in some regards, we hold that to him.
Right.
You know, yes, there's things behind the scenes like politics, clout. We know those things come into play. But that comes into play in any sort of entertainment.
But
period.
here is where it's different with professional wrestling than it is with any other television show on TV. They have this weird freedom. The employees, the independent contractors, the performers, the lighting guys, the producers, the writers, they have this weird freedom of finding an outlet that will listen to them complain about their job. And this is where I feel like a lot of people get bamboozled emotionally. it's one of those things where, yeah, we wouldn't care. You know, it would just be a TV show, a really sucky TV show that we can just complain on the same level of a Game of Thrones as, you know, it just didn't make sense or, you know, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But it takes that next level when the performers, they get on Twitter, the writers, they do secret interviews with people, and then things get published on the dirt sheets, on No DQ, on Fightful.
Right.
You know, when they knowingly have, you know, saying the Sean Ross Sapps and the Dave Meltzers, and let's just put Dave Meltzer in a different category because I don't want to compare to anybody else. But I mean, they have those guys back there. You know what they're going to do. You know they're looking for the dirt, and they get to pay their bills off of the grievances of the employees of these wrestling companies. You know what I mean? It's that much. So I had to shoot the marks a little bail there because we are just privy to a lot of information that really isn't any of our business. If the WWE, if AEW is running a tight ship, like any other television show that has a closed set, that has NDAs in place, you know,
Right.
that has, you know, so the proper things in order so that you just can't, you know, talk about whatever you want to talk about, especially when you're filming, you know. It's that they get to be a little loose, and like we created industries. We got shoot interviews that go back 30, 40 years. You know, we get to know, you know what I'm saying, who's an asshole, who's a great person, who's the hoe, you know what I'm saying, who's a wholesome person. Like, we get to know these things because people are willingly talking about these things. They're making money off of talking about these things.
You're right.
You know? So that's what gets to me when you get the guy, and you expect it from like a John Cena, Roman Reigns. Oh, you know what I'm saying, this is a kid's product, you know what I'm saying, shut up, just enjoy it. You know what I'm saying? It's just like, you know, this is the information that we're privy to. And there's a lot of things that even they have to admit to because no one has a tight lip. Like, thank God that Roman Reigns came forward with his diagnosis. You know what I'm saying? And at the risk of a company who likes to exploit things like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just so it wouldn't come out later on from a Meltzer or whoever else, you know? Because that'd have been messed up for us to kind of find out that way. But you know we would have if he didn't get in front of it.
Correct.
Speaking out, it's another one. Like, you can't just unsee that stuff. And, you know, say those things have to be dealt with. It should be dealt with, you know, say before we get that information. But us having that information, just it's another level of irresponsibility on their part. So it's like you don't have the right to complain. You know, we're gonna do whatever we want to do with that information. Most of it is not handled properly. You know, so I'll admit that. But it's like, you don't hire employees, you have independent contractors. So obviously you want to keep them at a distance, but you want to control them. And then the people themselves that sign these bogus contracts, it's like, they've been doing this for years. They've been doing this for decades. They've been doing this for generations. You should know by now that WWE is not Mecca, and that you need to know a little bit more about this business. Otherwise, you know what I'm saying, why would we care? You know, you keep shutting us down, we won't contribute to another Daniel Bryan or CM Punk or Naomi. You know what I mean? So for fans, I think we have to, like you said, once again, figure out where to draw that line. Because honestly, I don't want to see anybody kill themselves. But if Matt Hardy wants to go out there and kill himself, like, what can I do? What can I say? I could just not watch it, you know?
And that's what it comes down to.
Yeah.
Because what ultimately has to happen in this bigger picture is it has to get to the point where the wrestlers care more than we do.
Exactly.
I know part of it for some is they're mum, they're quiet because they're just trying to hold their spot and trying to hold their bag. And they're afraid if they speak out, either their place on the card is going to get diminished or they're going to get released. I get that from some, okay? But the reality of this situation is, it just comes to from Black Wrestlers Matter, you know, speaking out, until the wrestlers, the performers, start taking stands in some way, shape, or form. I'm not going to say which is the right way to do it. I'm not saying like that, you know, something like what the NBA did is what the answer is. My opinion, a lot of this doesn't get fixed until we have minority promoters out there, period. So until then, wrestlers have to band together and start supporting each other. Because a lot of times when this happens, when people speak up for themselves, they're on a fucking island.
Yes.
You know, when ACH spoke up for himself, he was on an island. Naomi, to a certain extent, was on an island. A lot of these wrestlers, until speaking out came out, were on islands when they were mentioning this stuff. Until they band together in a concerted effort that's consistent. Like even the speaking out thing, we're 2 months from it? A lot of the wrestlers are now coming back to performing. And we don't have resolutions on like half of the stuff, at least, if not any of it, to be honest with you. We were talking Black Wrestlers Matter, you know, before the pandemic. And where are we right now? There has to be that concerted stand. We want better. We want this. Whatever that may be from them. Because the reality is, this is the reality. We've seen it in front of our eyes. From a promoter standpoint, no one gives a fuck what we say. Vince McMahon ain't checking our tweets to be like, man, I wonder what Sean, Rod, and Ray think about this Naomi spot thing right now.
Yeah, it doesn't come from this. It comes from the dollars. You vote with the dollars.
If you want what we can do, because this is something people need to realize. If you want Naomi to get up on the card, start buying her merch.
Yeah, like that. You know what's interesting about that too? That was a point that Miz made a long time ago. Who was it in reference to? I forget who it was in reference to, but he made that point. Like, you know, if you really want to see this person come up the card, you need to start buying their merch.
Right.
This is the only thing they respond to.
Because a prime example is this Orange Cassidy thing. There are a lot of people that don't understand why AEW is giving Orange Cassidy the amount of attention they've given him over the last couple months. Orange Cassidy is number 2 in t-shirt sales for AEW. Behind who? Chris Jericho. No, I'm sorry, Moxley. Moxley's number 1. That tells you everything you need to know about the card. Moxley's been the champ for damn near 6 months. He's number 1 in sales. Makes sense. Orange Cassidy's number 2, and he just got created into a main eventer by a Hall of Famer. It makes sense. Everybody bitched about Roman Reigns being at the top of the card when he was the number 1 t-shirt merchandise seller for WWE for like a year and a half. If you want somebody like, you know, Big E or Bobby Lashley or, you know, somebody else get up on that card, start buying their merch. Get your friends to buy their merch.
Yeah.
And then wear it. Because that's the stuff that people like Vince don't ignore. Why did Cena stay on top for a decade? Look at the crowd. We've been to shows. It was green and fucking blue everywhere. There weren't a whole lot of, New Day have been champs 8 times. Why? Because everybody buys a damn New Day t-shirt. I got 2. Start paying attention to that shit. Look at WWE.com. Look at their bestsellers. Match that up with the card and see if it goes together. Go on ProWrestlingTees.com. See who's at the top of the t-shirt sales. And stop wondering why people like Scorpio Sky is not at the top of your ticket.
This is almost a good segue too, because there are some rare instances where that didn't quite cut it. This guy here, he did hold the championship for a long time, but he definitely wasn't at the top of the card. We know that there's some egos that kind of go into play when certain things, and rightfully so. Another guy who we know killed it, but saying once again, egos and whatever kind of came into play. A guy named Rusev,
Miroo.
his own damn holiday.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the fans showed up for that.
And that comes down to that Vince McMahon petty, because sometimes that just happens. If he didn't create it, he don't want it to happen. We saw that with Zack Ryder. We saw that with Rusev. There's a couple. He fought Daniel Bryan until the whole crowd took it over.
We almost saw it with Kofi Mania. That wasn't Vince created.
No. But see how quickly he squashed that shit too.
Oh yeah, for sure.
He basically said, "Y'all had y'all fun. I'm done with this." Yeah, it's not the first time, and I know I pick on Vince, but it's happened in other places where, a star has, created their own buzz and, gotten squashed because it's not the company plan. Because again, the fans don't hold the pen. They can control, who gets in certain places, but after that point, it's still the power of the pen. But yeah, Miroo's debut was interesting. And I say interesting because I feel like it's almost one of those things that Khan had in his back pocket for a little while. He wanted to make sure there was a crowd for it. Because him coming out was probably one of the bigger, it was a legit pop. Even though there was only like 1,000 people there.
Right.
I found it weird that he came out as a face introduced by a heel, but
Well,
that's a little nitpick.
No, because there's so many ways that you can introduce them. You can, if you want to be the petty route, you can put him in a love triangle with Penelope Ford.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
And that's the ultimate, fuck you. And this is, our storyline is actually getting over rather than your bullshit over there.
Yeah.
You could do it so many different ways. You can add him and Sabian as a duo in an already overstacked tag team division. There's so many ways you could go with it, but I was super happy. I assumed that he was, because they said it. They said it on free agents that they wanted, and they ended up signing. They played the coy route, mentioned them out of respect, and said, yeah, of course they're a top free agent. And me knowing it's like, I'm equating it to like tampering, right? I was like, oh yeah, he's a great free agent. We'd love to have him on a team. Anybody would love to have him on a team. You already signed a damn contract. You're just waiting for everything to clear and everything to get into. But That's a huge coup for AEW.
Oh yeah. And one thing I want to get, so I say, identified or cleared up, because I have started to see these comments of AEW is turning into another TNA by soaking up all the old ex-WWE stars. The people that are coming to TNA, with the exception of maybe one or two, I mean, just AEW, would be wanted anywhere.
Absolutely.
These aren't like people that are past their prime that, you know, are just looking for a final home because they got too old for the game. Like Miro, John Moxley, you know, these are people who, you know, even especially FTR, you know, these are people who should be top of the card regardless of where they go.
Right.
Your concerns were valid. That 1 week you did see, what's his face on there? Damn, I hate when I draw these blanks. Here we go. When you saw WCW guy.
Sting?
Oh. Bischoff?
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
Oh.
I was waiting. I should have dropped it a lot sooner.
Your concerns were valid. That 1 week you saw Bischoff show up on television.
Right.
But
it was 1 week.
Your heart should have jumped out of your chest.
Right.
That's fine. But that was for 1 week. So
chill.
We're not doing that, you know?
Right.
But isn't it like these little subliminal shots that AEW keeps doing? Because now we're having a conversation about, oh, well, this is just like WCW and, you know, these old days where these wrestlers, but you can come and it seems like it's like they're starting their own conversation so that we can have the conversation, and then it's on to the next storyline next week and we're fine.
Well, this is the one thing I wanted to ask you guys too. I fully expected when I saw Miro come out, I fully expected him to cut that promo, taking shots at the WWE. Is it old now?
No.
So
now when you have,
we're still going to entertain people coming over and still talking about the WWE.
You know why? It's happened everywhere, every single damn time.
Yeah. Tale as old as time.
Right. People were doing it, and people do it in Impact when they go over there. Eric Young cut a similar promo. The Good Brothers cut a similar promo. Brian Myers cut a similar promo. It happened when WCPW was happening.
I'm not doubting the amount of times it's happening and, the validity of it.
It's not old. And it's something that needs to happen every single time because you want to hear it. You want to hear them get that off their chest.
So that they can never bring it up again.
Right.
Well, I don't want to hear it anymore.
Okay.
Or it can be done in a more creative way.
I get. Like I like the Brody Lee thing. The Brody Lee thing's funny as hell. Yeah,
Brody did come over and cut a promo, but man, he's been killing it on BTE with the way he kind of brings up certain things.
And I'm okay with it. The bigger the star, I'm okay with.
Right.
The mid-Carters, like somebody like Matt Cardona, I really don't want to hear it.
No.
Slater, I don't want to hear it. Even the Good Brothers. I mean, I'm excited. I'm more into it because of stars like Rusev, Brody Lee, Moxley, because these guys were criminally underused.
And that's the thing. Like, there are certain stars, and Miro's one of those stars, where it's almost an expectation. We need to hear this.
Mm-hmm.
Because you have been silenced in some way, shape, or form for a while. You need to get that. Now, like you said, Matt Cardona, people to that effect. Like, I'm going to be honest with you, I didn't need to hear Eric Young say it. That's just me.
No doubt there's, like I sent you guys earlier, Mike Bennett's wrestling Nick Aldis for the NWA championship.
Don't give him a mic. That's my point there.
Yeah, I'm good with that. I'm good. I don't necessarily think Mike Bennett was criminally done wrong.
No, but I'm saying in that instance, there's going to be some form of a mention on this because that's just how these wrestling companies go ahead and draw. I mean, in the social media aspect of it, where you're going to get a lot of draws into your thing, it's just clickbait.
And with Mike Bennett, this is especially the case because there's nothing he can say that his wife hasn't already said.
Facts.
And that's not a diss. That's just reality.
Mm-hmm.
So it's, there's some people we just need to move on from. And, I get it. I do say this or ask this. Is Miro the last big WWE defector? It seems like it to me.
Yeah, for the time being, yeah.
I mean,
I don't see anybody else.
Honestly, it depends on how you feel about Briscoe.
I put it on Twitter and I actually believe this to this point. I would not hire Briscoe.
I wouldn't either.
I wouldn't hire Briscoe because, bruh, it would be a Vince-ass move to purposely release Briscoe to get hired by someone else so he can learn some shit. And I'm not saying that's the truth, but that's the reason I wouldn't hire Briscoe.
Okay. It's not an indictment on him, but like he's part of a regime that just to like chill. Like it's just not neat. Like you've done enough. You know what I mean? Like it should. Your former company should have retired you. Same thing with like Mike Chioda, even though he still has a little gas left in his tank.
Jim Ross.
Okay.
What? I'm being there, man. Yeah. It's gotten to a point like you like hesitant for him to open his mouth now.
Well, it's the same thing with Excalibur. I mean, he gets exposed for saying shit. Both of them are on there. It doesn't matter how many apologies. We're not going to see any type of change on that. So it's just fucking keep it moving at this point.
Sounds like me.
I'm just tired of the token bullshit. It's like, yo, you got cats like Excalibur saying what he says on no action. Even though if you're listening to your fans and you see it, you see them calling out the hypocrisy of it. Then you see Jim Ross having to apologize for yet another fucking comment that he keeps saying. It's cool some points for the nostalgia part, but you need somebody who's socially aware of reading the audience, both in the arena and your viewers at home. It's almost like, and I don't mean to say it like this, like if I'm sounding insensitive, but it's almost a fucking given that anything that you say can go ahead and offend somebody on fucking social media, no matter what is said, tongue-in-cheek comment, whatever the case may be. But this shit needs to just stop with him already, man. It's like it's not even enjoyable watching it if he's going to continue. If you're waiting for his next fuck up.
I'll be honest. At this point, and this is most of wrestling, so I'm not going to act like it's just AEW. I watch most of wrestling without hearing the commentary at this point.
It's not like you're going to hear anything else. It's all piped in.
I don't like WWE.
You can do the same shit on 2K if you want.
That's what I'm saying. I don't like Impact commentary. I don't like WWE commentary. I'll listen to the promos, but when it comes to commentary, I almost feel the game is better than real life at this point, and we know how bad the game is.
Well, let's give some. The wrestlers are the ones that are actually pretty interesting. Like Samoa Joe's a fucking. If he couldn't wrestle again and he was going to end up being a commentator, dude's a Hall of Fame.
But you got to hear Braxton. Like, I don't know, that's not a fair trade. Getting to hear Samoa Joe is not worth hearing Braxton.
There's a lot of shit that I want to hear.
The WWE Network is long overdue for that option to change the commentary on the fly. Anyway.
Oh shit! It's time to give some love to the Indian guys and the Germans.
Oh my! Here we go.
Because I have to give shout out to New Japan, who I think is going to start incorporating English commentary with their next run.
Yeah.
They haven't been, and the Japanese commentary is awesome.
I have not. Again, I don't listen to commentary because it's actually just easier for me to just watch all the wrestling.
It's similar to the commentary for the Spanish commentary for like World Cup.
Now you have my attention.
You can pick it up by just by sheer context,
especially when Okada's out there.
Oh man.
It's just like I like watching anime in like the Japanese with the English subtext, because
subtitles.
They use like a lot of times they use female voices for like the main protagonists. It's like they're just hitting those power moves at those higher octaves. Like, you know, the regular Dragon Ball Z is all like, but like the Japanese is like, it just gives you more hype.
Oh wow. Well, I mean, and speaking of New Japan, is it part of all AEW contracts to get that New Japan money as well at this point?
I mean, it's well within your interest to put everything in that contract that you want to do.
Yeah.
It's just good business.
Miro gets to work with New Japan as well, so
it's just a great thing that I feel like at least with AEW they're kind of they're kind of ahead of the curve on that. Like they're probably going to the point of asking like, hey, is there other promotions you want to work for while you want to do this, or you know?
It makes smart. It's the same thing like when you have the negotiations with Billy Corgan to have Thunder Rosa headline your women's division for the pay-per-view. It makes business sense not to restrict them, but to foster these relationships so that way there can be a lot of come and go between these stars that you normally wouldn't see.
We originally thought there were like 2 different AEW contracts, but it seems like there'd be like 11 different times right now.
And I'm cool.
Thunder Rosa's deal is different from Eddie Kingston's deal, is different from Matt Cardona's deal.
Let's highlight the fact that we're not sitting here dissecting it the same way that we would WWE, because the way that it's presented to us is that of a contract for an independent contractor, based off of appearances, based off of what they do, and then they're still able to go ahead and recoup some merchandise money on
and free dental care.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, 2 things AEW covers with these kind of deals. A, at least you know where they're going when you make these deals.
Mm-hmm.
And B, you get them reps. That's one of my biggest beefs with AEW right now, is the performances show these people aren't getting reps. You know what I'm saying? Some of the big botches that we've seen, those are happening because these people aren't getting rehearsals, they're not getting reps. And those are usually done. WWE, they have a performance center. You can literally go there and practice all you want. They had house shows for the longest of time. That's where you're getting your reps in. At the moment, AEW doesn't have anything established in that regard. And that's showing in the in-ring product at times. When you see 2 people who aren't used to wrestling with each other, or, for example, Steve and Thunder Rosa looked good together because both of them were trained by similar people. So they were able to work well together.
Mm-hmm.
Other people work well together because they've wrestled match after match after match with each other. Like the first match that Jericho and Orange Cassidy had looked like shit. But now the more they wrestle together, now you're legit watching the match like, holy shit. I mean, that's something that AEW has to figure out going forward. And part of figuring that out is letting them wrestle other places so they can get their reps in.
Yeah. You don't need them coming in stiff.
Right. Stiff, or, if you're going to try some shit over there. You can come back if it works.
I mean, that can go into the part where, like, with the Matt Hardy and Sammy Guevara, had they been allowed to do their thing elsewhere, maybe there's a little bit more. There's little things like that.
I don't think anything's stopping Matt Hardy from doing anything. I
really wish he had gone back into the pool at the Jaguar Stadium so we can see the 3 phases of Matt again.
I have to be honest about the Matt Hardy, Sammy Guevara thing, not to spend too much time on it. I'm starting to get concerned about Sammy Guevara's work style at this point, because that's more than twice. I mean, that's twice with Matt Hardy, but he's, you know, how would I say, been overly excited on a couple of occasions in his matches.
Yeah, and he's
He's
young.
wrestling. He's wrestling in a different style now too. Because he's used to just this wrestling high flyers. Because that's when you're in the Indies.
Because he sure as hell gave us one of the biggest pops, one of the bigger pops during February, the last time we were all able to be in, with that insane fucking flip off of the top rope.
Yeah,
and like he's a high flyer, but maybe this is the time where somebody like Matt Hardy can get in his ears, like, yo, you were we were essentially like the same wrestler when I was your age. Here's what we can do. We could work on it.
I mean,
That's why you.
doing.
That's why you get somebody like Matt Hardy in the room.
And that's why
I don't have too much smoke for him, because I feel like that's exactly what's happening right now.
Right. I mean, and you can tell that's happening with every single program in the AEW. If you look at every single program in AEW, there's an established star who looks like they've identified an up-and-coming star. I'm going to work with you. I'm going to put you on.
Yeah.
Even with the Kenny, and Hangman thing, they were a tag team, but you can tell the whole process was building
the rest of the roster.
Yeah. Right. Because
the
Jericho thing was all about building, Orange Cassidy. Cody was doing it week by week with other people, just on a smaller scale. And the Bucks are working with somebody right now to do a very similar thing.
QT Marshall.
Is it QT Marshall?
I mean, well, I'm just saying QT Marshall is another one who I feel like is just most improved.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
somebody who I just didn't really care about to now. He looks really good inside of the ring, and I know he's like.
And who has he been tagging with? He's been tagging with Dustin Rhodes.
Exactly.
And the AEW has a long-term plan. Not all of it's working, honestly, because of what you see in front of you. But you could tell at least there's a long-term plan there. And at the end of the day, they do accomplish the fact that the person that they're working with is more over than they were in the beginning.
And you have to take into account there's a longer bit of storytelling with AEW because of how spaced their pay-per-views are. So it's like it takes. I mean, it may not be the Fast and Furious race that we usually see when it comes to the other brands, but at least this one, it's gotten better than it was before. And I know that you posted a note about Cody in regards to All Out. It's like, look at the two posters, like everybody was comparing on social media. You had Cody, you had the Young Bucks, but you fast forward a year, it's every star that they've wanted to put over on that damn thing. And I think that's in that essence, you want to sit there and say AEW's kind of patting themselves on the back. Job well done for the first year. This is where we want it to be.
Let's talk about that job well done for a second. I have a couple of riddles for you guys.
I don't like riddles.
A, B, C, D, and E. Guy runs out of a burning house with his hands in the air, gets shot in the chest. He runs back into the house collapses, and then explodes. What killed him?
Paying $50 for All Out?
Ooh.
Here's
Ooh. Ooh.
Ouch. Well, here's the second question. You had a show that had the debut of Miro, had a spectacular tag team match with Sonny Kiss. Once again, showing how spectacular he is. You had a couple other special things that happened on the show from Matt Hardy, cutting his promo, and things like that. Who's responsible for the million?
That's a better riddle. The first one was tough. And let me be clear. The only reason why I paid the $50 instead of asking one of you guys, which one are you purchasing, which one is going to give me the password, is because I had spent the $29.99 to get the premiere pass so we can go ahead and watch Mulan, only to have my sister hoard it at her house. So she was watching it. So then they had to watch it. But I purposely said, because I wanted to watch All Out, but I can see that it was a struggle for them to keep watching. So I was like, I'll get the Mulan. You guys watch it. I'll just watch it on my iPad. Paid for it, and I sat there and I was like,
wait, you paid $50 to watch it on an iPad?
Yeah.
Nah, man.
That'd be the last fucking time.
Right.
Well, yeah, I did.
At the very least, I would have been watching it on that little screen right there that you have next to you.
Oh no, I mean it's fine because I was playing 2K at the same time. So I was, two birds, one $50 fucking stone. I don't regret it because I thought I made the right move for the family.
No, it's all good.
If they weren't here, I wouldn't have fucking bought it.
I just still stand by my statement right now, and I just say right now. And I don't think it has anything to do with like the actual product in the ring. I'm unable to spend $50 on a pay-per-view right now. It just doesn't hit the same right now. The experience of watching a pay-per-view.
I was excited about the card, and yeah, there was the element of the 10% fans, and I was like, all right, cool, and hey, this was their big show because we would have gone crazy. This would have been a huge weekend in Chicago and then outside in Hoffman Estates for that. So it was kind of like that hometown feeling with it, even though it was and it still ended up being in Jacksonville. But
well, I bought it not realizing how gimmick heavy this show was going to be. It just kind of it clicked to me at the very end after I already purchased it. Like, yo, we're getting like a Falls Count Anywhere match, a Orange Mimosa match, a cinematic match. Like, we're getting all these things on the same shows. It's like,
can you even call that a cinematic match? That was horrible. That did nothing for either one of those wrestlers.
Like, the one match that I thought was going to be cinematic, should have been cinematic, was Matt Hardy versus Sammy Guevara.
I thought that was. When it first started, when they were in the stadium, I was like,
it could have been. It could have.
I thought it was. Yeah, but
could have been. It wasn't. It was a live match, but then you got pretty much the goat of cinematic matches there.
Yeah.
Couldn't consult on this other match. Like, couldn't say anything.
That was hard to watch. It really was. And I mean, I'm not gonna lie that when I was watching the Thunder Rosa match, I was kind of hoping that our prediction with the Tessa would come true.
But
it did not.
The thing about that match too was it was slow all the way to the end. It's like I understand why they did it, but it's our fault. Well, it's the fans' fault. They wanted that on the main card. They knew what they were doing when they put that on the pre-show initially.
Well, like as far as like with the Britt Baker, it's like that match did nothing for me as the observant fan that understands that she's still got a lot of work to do as a wrestler. She's gotten so much better with the mic work and the promo work during her time off, but that match did nothing to squash those questions in my head as and this is who you want to latch onto as the head of your.
To be honest with you, I think she's still injured. I think she's not 100%.
Yeah, I think that's why they had the cinematic.
That's why it was so short too.
Yeah, they had the cinematic because she's still hurt. She's still hurt.
That's why I said it's on the fans because the fans begged for that match to be on the main card.
Yep.
So that's what they get.
So it's that. I when it comes to All Out in general, I think it was a disappointment, but partially due to unfair expectations. Partially, very partially. I say the card warranted expectations. The circumstances in which they had to put on a pay-per-view made the expectations that I'll say personally I had for it probably be unfair. Like I was expecting like I compared it to last year automatically, which is unfair.
Right.
My last pay-per-view really watching experience for AEW was Revolution.
Which was
massive. That's what I'm saying. It's an unfair comparison.
Yeah, and the crowd, let's be honest, I mean, the crowd has a lot to do with it, man.
That's what I'm saying. Like, that's why it's hard for me to watch a pay-per-view right now because I know how much the crowd invests in a pay-per-view. I could watch, highlights from a weekly show, no problem, because it's TV.
And
But
if I could be honest for a second, one of the other reasons that I wanted to do it, I didn't want to get another fucking spoiler text from you.
which one? Did you
No, like as previous ones, because my stream was slower than yours. So you start leaking. I was like, that's why I gotta mute you. That's it. That's enough for you.
And when Sean does it, he's like the Chicago Sun-Times. He just gives you like a headline.
Yeah, the messed up thing is I overpay for internet, so I think I'm faster than the stream itself. So I don't know.
I mean, I'm rocking a gig right now of internet. I'm like, but it's still.
I got tips to the trade here, but no, it's gonna, because I felt, and I'm comparing this to last night because it really struck me. I did watch the football game last night out of curiosity and was very weirded out by the amount of fans there.
That's something that's just nasty right now.
12,000 fans watched that football game live last night. And I admit, from a viewing experience, it added to it, I'm not going to lie. But it was uncomfortable. Because you couldn't help but think like, yo, is that cool? Like, I just heard, y'all just told me about, 250K, cases being, tied to the Sturgis rally. And now I'm watching 12,000 people watch a football game. Like,
and how do you socially distance 12,000 people in the fucking parking lot?
You could, in the parking lot, that, yeah. How do you do concessions? Those are all questions I don't even want to know the answers.
Well, from what I understand, the concessions are that you would order it and they would bring it to you or meet you on the concourse with your order, rather than you're standing in line for some. I can't remember where I read it. I remember reading something that they were trying to enhance that experience. But somebody like myself, I'm sitting there, I'm like, that's a hell of a lot of fucking privilege that they just exercised, putting that many fucking people in a fucking stadium for a fucking football game.
And that's what bothered me about it, because I knew it was because it was on TV, the reason they did it.
And look at what the fans did with that fucking moment too.
Oh boy, that's a whole nother podcast.
That's why you guys know me. That's why it's been fuck the NFL since 2016 for me. And that last night just highlights how much further we have to go in this race. And it's straight bullshit, man. That whole reaction. And these are the entitled fucks that are sitting in the fucking stands while we're sitting at home making sure that we're putting on masks, rubber gloves, sanitizing everything that we walk in the house from going out and essentially working and providing for our families. And that's the fucking shit that you get. That whole fucking thing rubbed me the wrong way, as you can tell.
So that's why, last night made me look at current wrestling shows differently. Because I can appreciate what WWE, Impact, and AEW are doing a bit more, knowing that they're not trying to do that shit.
Right.
Because no offense, what happened last night in that football game was a straight Vince McMahon ass move. If Vince McMahon knew he could have put 12,000 people in the stands for WrestleMania, he'd have did in a heartbeat.
Oh, fuck yeah. In a heartbeat.
But I'm saying he hasn't yet.
Which is crazy to think about, because Florida's been one of the shittiest fucking states when it comes to these protections and when these COVID regulations. So I'm absolutely surprised that they still didn't let them get that shit off in the middle of April to get that WrestleMania crowd.
Well, it'll be tested as of November.
No doubt.
Because the contract with the Amway Center ends on the 30th of October.
I'm sure they'll extend it though. I'm sure they'll extend it, because the plan, from what I was reading too with the NBA, this might be a good way for them to start late too. So they would at least have until the end of the year, if the NBA actually does that, considering they're not going to give them much of a they're playing September right now. For God's sakes.
Well, they pushed the draft to November, so I don't think we're gonna see.
I wouldn't see this. Yeah, and which makes a hell of we've said this on the podcast. It makes a hell of a lot of sense when you're not competing with the other major sports that are in the smack dab in the middle of their playoff pushes and shit like that. You can have the stage to yourself for the next 6 months if you wanted it as such.
Gerard, blink if you're okay. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
He had his head down so long. I was like, did he fall asleep on this man?
But I mean, it's even that with
zero, I mean, I guess about the NBA, but I have like zero comments for like the NFL. Like,
there's so, like you said, it's a whole nother podcast, and quite honestly, we should just do an episode just on that bullshit, especially with the Madden bullshit of adding Kaepernick.
Whole nother podcast.
I tell you what, though,
your attention is currency. You vote with your dollars.
Yep.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I'm gonna segue us from one crazy story to another, because this just grabbed my attention, like literally grabbed my attention. So I was listening to Tommy Dreamer's podcast, and he had Crazy Steve from Impact, who on the surface is not a big star by any means. Definitely kind of in the lower card type of area. I think he's been X Division champ like once, a tag champ like once in Impact. But during the interview on this podcast, Crazy Steve revealed that he has been legally blind since childhood.
Like Stevie Wonder?
Not quite Stevie Wonder. What he said is everything looks like a scrambled TV screen to him. Like he can tell to a certain point where the ropes are if they're colored brightly, like if they're red or something like that. He can see that there's a person in front of him, but often cannot tell who the person is.
That's nuts.
And this cat is wrestling professionally, and it's an amazing. And I'm just going to keep this short because I can't really get too much detail, because I really want everybody to kind of take a moment and listen to this podcast, because it is an amazing story as he goes into detail about how he wrestles literally legally blind. And it just tells you don't know where people come from, what they're going through, and how hard they work to get to where they are. You know, we would have never known this about this cat had he not came out with this and, and told his story in the way that he did. And it's just, it's a very inspiring, like anything is possible type of story, where he tells you like, there was a time where he accidentally hit a ref because he thought the ref was the wrestler he was facing. It's just, it's a compliment to who he's performing with as well, because wrestling's a ballet. I just want to, if this is the end of this particular episode, I want to make sure we go on a note. I'll make sure to give Crazy Steve some props, because listening to his story was, eye-opening for me, because, we talk shit a lot about wrestlers on this podcast, about how they perform. We just did about Matt Sydal falling from the top rope, and stuff like that. We're going to laugh at it again, but, sometimes
he went all out on it.
Yeah, it's the engine. All right. But, sometimes there are those, stories behind, outside of the ring, that definitely deserve attention, because people come from interesting places to get into that ring and and this is to entertain us. Think about that, and you got the Gregory Irons out there. Shout out to Gregory Iron, who, performs, day in and day out for us.
He's the champ somewhere, isn't he?
Yeah, he's the Iron Man champ in GCW, I want to say. But I know he's some kin to Johnny Gargano. I'm just not sure where he falls in line. But I know he's some kin to him. But there's some great stories out there. Who was the cat? I think his name was Zachary Cohen.
Oh yeah.
And then there was that one wrestler. He was in ROH for a while. Who was a soldier with a prosthetic leg. Who wrestled for a while as well. So, and I'm not saying these are like handicaps. These aren't handicaps, but these are just people who, are overcoming challenges that, some of us wouldn't even dare to even try.
Well, so when you watch something and you don't give up, you like everything else that you have is heightened and it becomes better than the average person. So I call them cheaters. Because they're cheating at life.
Got it, man.
Absolutely.
With that, we can wrap this episode up. Ray's got 2K to do.
I don't know what I'm doing. Oh no, I got the Madden League starting tonight.
Okay.
I got a whole Discord. I told Rod before you came on. I learned how to use the Discord.
What are you playing on Twitch tonight that I can watch, man?
Straight up.
I'm probably going to be. I need to do some Photoshop stuff, to be honest with you. I was telling Ray a couple ideas that I had about T-shirts and merchandise. Because I showed him earlier. There is a very large cricket machine.
We saw that.
There's even
you can't see it behind your Cash App right now, right?
Well, that's why he's got the Cash App, because there's a very large printing machine there. So if you want your T-shirts and stuff like that, there's the plug right there.
So I got some of that stuff to do. I might get around to try to chop it up some people later on tonight in Keto, Japan.
Oh, I did tell him that I bought Avengers.
You did?
I'm a fan.
Okay.
It's because they're doing it like Destiny 2. So there's going to be a lot of online challenges that pop up. Like, it's best to do the campaign mode for anybody playing it. It's best to do the campaign mode first, finish that, and then go into the online, because you don't want to ruin any spoilers, because there's been some really fun stuff with the storylines. It's pretty fucking cool.
Cool. I'm gonna do the last DLC of Borderlands and probably get my golf game on.
We're gonna have to. I don't want to say that. That's a possible moment. Sit there and say we're gonna have to get our stroke game on. I'm like,
Nope. Not at all, man. Not at all.
Can't say let's play the skins game equally as Pawsworthy. We'll just we'll link up and play some 2K.
There we go. We'll play some 2K. Because I am definitely way behind on my NBA 2K. It's embarrassing.
Well, like I said, we're not even touching it. We're gonna grab it when it's PS5, so that way everybody's already tired out from grinding for 3 months.
Man, there's cats already 99 that are playing online. It drives me crazy.
I don't want to say what I was gonna say. I'll just.
Rod, get us out of here.
Yeah, before I get myself.
Follow us on Twitter. We are the Wiseman. Instagram, Facebook, Wiseman Wrestling Podcast. Everywhere you listen to podcasts, the audio version will be anywhere you listen to podcasts, courtesy of Anchor.fm. Follow me on Twitch. Send me some money at Cash App.
Don't show us your foot, man.
$35 a month. $35 a month. With that being said, just know that this podcast will and forever be for the culture. Remember that your attention is currency. You vote with your dollars. And even if you are a mark, make sure you leave a positive mark on this life. Good night.